You're probably familiar with the concept of the connection between mind, body, soul, or you could say mind, body, emotions, and your unconscious. But what practices do you have to understand how your body is speaking to you on a daily basis? Sometimes it's not until we have a major illness or a diagnosis with cancer or something like that that we get a wake up call. And often the first thing that we do is we focus on a healthy lifestyle, but do we focus on our the psychospiritual aspect of why that issue showed up in the body? So it's difficult because in our culture we want to say either or. And so it's not that you really need to pay attention to both aspects, the physical aspect, but there is always a psychospiritual aspect. And often the physical result you can tie back to something psychological or something emotional. And there's a lot of research about, when you think about the root of disease, it's dis-ease. And so what does that mean? Dis-ease. It can mean stress. It can mean uncertainty. It can mean a lack of safety and stability. And it can mean, what happens when you force yourself to stay in a situation because you don't know how to get out. So, anyway, I'm Dr. Deborah Lukovich, and I'm a depth psychology coach and an author and host of Dose of Depth podcast. And today I'm here to talk about what's in the background of a couple of chapters from my new book, my memoir, When Sex Meets God, A Midlife Unraveling. So, chapters 11 through 13 sort of illustrate through story. So this is written as a novel. How my body was trying to get my attention through different periods that led up to my midlife unraveling. And so I just want to touch on a couple of this and get you thinking about how is your body trying to communicate with you every day? And it's not your body, it's your unconscious. Because remember, science even affirms that up to 90% of you, how you exist every day, is driven by unconscious forces. Some of them are repressed, like things that happened to you that were bad, but also all of your potential is in your unconscious. And sometimes either somebody told you that, you couldn't follow those urges and desires because you wouldn't be able to earn a living or whatever it was, or maybe they're just parts of you that you're afraid of embracing because you're not strong enough to be that yet. So, there are different ways that our unconscious tries to get our attention through our body. So, in chapter 11, it's titled My Body Knew the Truth. So, I'm going along on my life and I have a little like twinge of discontent, but I just keep approaching things from my mind, my ego, by reading, by taking actions, and getting mammograms was never an easy thing for me. So after a few years of getting them, suddenly I needed a biopsy on one side. And it's an unnerving experience. And when the doctor says, "Oh, don't worry about it, we'll give you a call," then what do? You just worry about it. And then 6 months later, I needed a biopsy on the other side. So what this did for me, I was already very healthy. What this did for me is it made me obsessed with the chances of getting breast cancer. And so one of the things that happened though was there was enough of a wake up call that suddenly something came up to the surface from my unconscious that I had to admit. And I said to my husband, after I had moved him out to the suburbs, I suddenly, 4 years later, was like, my soul is dying out here. And he's like, what? You moved us out here? And he said this thing. He said, "Oh, I like it here. What if this is that thing our marriage can't survive?" And I was so taken aback that that thing went right back down into my unconscious and I repressed it. Well, it wasn't too long after that I had strange when my husband was away and I was in bed and the kids were in bed. I thought I was having a stroke. And I'm on my computer researching what are the symptoms of a stroke but I'm also like not believing myself. And I end up going to the ER. And I'm embarrassed that the doctor says it's anxiety. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm not stressed. Like literally, I was so embarrassed to be told that I was there because I had anxiety. And that led to my doctor discovering that I had plunged into perimenopause. Now, perimenopause can occur very dramatically because of a buildup of stress. And again, I thought I was on top of things. Our life was getting more difficult. My husband had a new job, but I thought, my mind can handle all of this. And so so I was plunged into perimenopause and I was like, okay, what do I do about that? I get some bioidentical hormone cream and I think I'm just fine. Well, then one day in the morning, I literally can't think. I have such static in my mind and my brain that I can't focus. I can't stop working. And I go back to the doctor and I have to give in and take a pharmaceutical concoction. And I hate pharmaceuticals. And I take this little blue pill, but immediately it made the voices go away. So I'm like, okay, great, back to normal. So you see the pattern here? Back to normal. Let's like just, resist digging into the real issue. Well, then something happened. As I thought everything was fine, I walk in on my husband in his office and I see him looking really guilty. And right then and there he confessed he was having like an email affair with somebody. He was just being inappropriate. And I was like, "Oh, okay, fine." Didn't talk about it, right? So again, like, okay, can't go there yet. Well, in my next chapter, chapter 12, my body attacks me. It gets pretty dramatic. So you see, if you don't explore what you're supposed to explore, your unconscious will still keep trying to get your attention through very dramatic means. And this is a chapter of when I got Guillain-Barré, a rare neurological disorder, and I explain all of that. But my point is that I just wanted to get back to normal and get working on my business. And I didn't really reflect about it. I just said, tell me what to do to get better. And I was kind of a miracle cure and I didn't think about it. But I sensed that one of the things that was happening is that my husband and I really weren't able to talk about things that we should have been talking about. And we didn't even know what we should be talking about. But one day he said, hey, you want to take dance lessons? And I was like, what? Yes. And so he apparently had reflected enough about it to make that gesture to me. Well, in chapter 13, the cost of getting what I want. Ugh, all right, now we're taking 2 years of dance lessons. And again, the body. What is the body telling me? Well, ballroom dancing is very erotic. And over time, I realized that my body didn't feel the way it should have taking ballroom dance lessons with my husband. And it was not something I couldn't even deal with that. So even that went down into the shadow. And eventually, though, through synchronicity, my unconscious kept leading me. And I saw a flyer for a body flow class. And I went to a body flow class, and that led me to yoga. Why? Right? Mysterious. And in yoga, during one of the classes at the end, when you do Shavasana pose, which is called Dead Man's Pose, I had this experience of feeling like nothing and everything at the same time. And I gained some sense of peace about myself. Now, I had brought up wanting to move out of the suburbs a couple more times, but I still backed away as soon as my husband resisted. And, I'm like, forget it, just forget I even brought it up. But since I have been paying attention to my body and doing yoga and body flow and breathing and coming into relationship with my body, it was a kind of surrender and it allowed my husband to show up. And one day he said, okay, I'm ready to move back to Whitefish Bay out of the suburbs. So, the moral of the story of me sharing this part of what's going on in the background of my story is that your body is there every day giving you clues. And your body always knows the truth of the situation. What is right? What is the deeper thing going on? How your thoughts, well, that's part of manifesting. How if your body and emotions aren't in alignment, because remember, most of our emotions and thoughts and beliefs are in the unconscious, how it will sabotage you. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'd love for you to share your own experience of maybe a physical issue, a body issue, made you had a wake up call, or you were better than me and you sensed you were able to explore and address things before it got too dramatic. And, there's a lot more that happens after those chapters, of course. I haven't gotten to the juicy stuff yet. But part of these videos is to teach you sort of a Jungian theory that's in the background. And Carl Jung, his theory of individuation is about the process of consciously coming into relationship with your unconscious. So at this point, I wasn't conscious, not until later on. Then I become more conscious and more aware. So anyway, I hope you find that's interesting, and I hope you will check out my book and maybe buy it, When Sex Meets God, A Midlife Unraveling. And because it's a good story, and I want to turn it into a Netflix series or a movie. So anyway, until next time. Oh, please don't forget to like and subscribe and comment and share. I really appreciate it. And go to my website, deborahlukovich.com, where you can get a lot more free content and even listen to me read every chapter from my other book, Your Soul is Talking. Are you listening on my podcast? So take care until I come back with a sneak peek into other chapters. Bye bye.